Hello, and thanks for joining us. My name is Jennifer Castinson. I'm with Build Exact, and I'm here with a couple of our partners today who are going to share some expert tips on how to use technology and how to adopt it in a way that's effective and valuable for your organization. We are and will address your questions during and after the webinar, so please add them to the chat, and we'll get started here in just a minute. Our first partner presenting today is Derek Isaac. He's with Rapid Result Creators, and then we'll go to Pete Miller with Angie. Hopefully you guys have seen and heard from both of these guys in the past. Derek is super active on YouTube and has a ton of great content. So please make sure that you're taking advantage of that. He also has some materials, and he'll speak to this when he starts presenting, but he has some materials that he's offering on a complimentary basis after today's presentation. So I will be sharing that in the chat as well. So please get in the chat, let us know who you are and where you're calling in from. And then any questions that you have during the presentation, I will make sure to address all of that. And with all of that being said, I'm going to now pass it over to you, Derek, and thank you so much for being here and for all of your great insights.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. Excited to dive into this stuff and share with the group here. So let me just pull up the presentation here. You can see my screen, okay? All right.
Yes, it looks great. Sorry.
Perfect, no worries. So Hammers to High Tech, Pros Guide to Tech Adoption. As everyone knows, there's lots of new technology and always stuff coming out, and how do we actually utilize it and get everybody on board. So I'm going to be sharing about that today, driven by myself, Derek Isaac. So I'm going to start with some myths of tech adoption. There's a lot of just misconceptions, I think, in the industry with contractors. I know I've gone through some of these myself as well. And so I want to break down those myths before we kind of get into how to utilize and implement technology effectively in a construction business. So tech is complicated. This is a common one, especially for people that maybe are not super comfortable with new technology, or you get frustrated because you got a million and one things to do on the job site, and the last thing you want to do is, learn some new system or technology. Nowadays, though, it is getting easier than ever. I think the user interfaces are getting more clear, and there's just so much support and information, and now with AI as well, that you can really have like your own personal tutor, more or less, to help you like figure out technology. And it is getting more and more human friendly as we go along. So I think the complications of tech in the past are really being solved nowadays with a lot of the just the better and upgraded programs that are coming out. My crew will never use it. I know this is definitely an issue that can come up, especially with some of the older crowd, guys who've been, excellent framers, carpenters, electricians, whatever they may be, been in it for 20, 30 years. And they would just want to go to work, do their job, and go home, sort of thing. So there's definitely, again, ways to mitigate this. And also, I know with some contractors is you can, like, the younger crowd is going to pick this up super quick, and even some of the older ones, like, email, the webs, like, it's been around for 30 years now, so everybody has been exposed to technology, has a smartphone. It's really just being able to follow up and get them on board and explain it in a way that makes sense to them. Always give a reason why you want someone to use something new, or do things in a certain way. It'll slow us down. So this is a common one as well. It's true that when you start something new, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult. It's you're going to have to learn through it. And that temporary slowdown is just going to essentially enable you to be faster, more efficient, more organized in the future. Analogy that comes to my head is the Tiger Woods where he had to change his swing. He was a professional, #1 rated golfer, but he ended up changing his swing. He had to change things up. He had to bring in some new technology, if you will, of how to better hit the ball. And he got worse because of it. But in the long run, he was able to be more effective and a better golfer at the end of the day. High tech is always better. So I love systems, I love technology, and I love how they make my life easier, as well as my clients' lives easier. But I will admit that high tech is not always better. There's definitely a human connection that you need. Too much automation can feel cold and things can get missed because no one's really watching it. So there is a trade-off, but not using it as an excuse that because of that, you're not going to incorporate your technology into your company, or you're not going to embrace, change in technology. Um, and sometimes it's just a certain type of technology may not be better for that situation, and you just need to find something else that works. I'm going to be sharing some, case studies and some examples from my experience, as well as some clients I've had about that later on. I just need the right software. So, like I said before, software is becoming more intuitive. There's some great stuff like Build Exact, which really helps you just manage your entire business for the contracting, and that'll it'll be that kind of backbone to your business. But just having the software, I think that is one reason as well why tech adoption you fall short sometimes, is because you purchase some new software, you're excited about it, but you end up using maybe 10% of it or 20% of it, or it kind of falls by the wayside. You hit some roadblocks or some barriers, and the just having the software in place or setting some things up often isn't enough. You have to really put energy and time behind it to make sure that your team is on board, that it's being implemented, that you've got some operating procedures around the software of how are we actually going to use this and follow this, and make sure that we're getting full return on the investment of having the software in place. So making sense to everybody? I see some chats coming up. If there's some questions, I think we'll kind of get to those later, and definitely be happy to dive into some questions or advice on implementation. So why tech is your growth engine? Technology can be a huge driver. It can help you differentiate, help you get edge on competition, can help you be more efficient, more profitable. It really helps across the board, and we're going to get into that right now. So quicker results, less headaches. That's kind of the name of the game. It's what we want. We want things to move faster, with less headaches, with less involvement on your part. We want things to run and not have to think about them, so that there's not, one less hat for you to wear in your business. The big benefits are they reduce your business's dependence on you. So that's number one. The biggest risk of any construction company is the owner. Because if something happens to you, the business typically is going to suffer. So by having right technology in place, it helps to remove you from the systems and the operations of the business when it's set up right and your team is on board. And there's a lot of steps to get in place, but ultimately it'll help you reduce your business dependence on you. Puts money in your pocket. So the investment for technology is typically very small, especially compared to years past. And the amount of return, if it can save you a handful of hours, per week or per month, if it can help you be even just 2 to 3, 5% more efficient in your business, that all trickles to the bottom line and puts more money in your pocket at the end of the day. Better client experience. I'm sure you've probably been there where you've been super frustrated with technology when you've called someone and you get a robot on the phone, or you're trying to figure out a website and your client experience is just poor because the technology is frustrating. But then I'm sure you've also been where you've gone to self-checkout and it's easy, it's simple, it runs smoothly. So with the right technology in place, it creates a much better client experience, and a better client experience makes things easier for you as well. I know having a nice, dashboard for clients, or providing some sort of way that you can share access to files and different things like that. It's a few less calls that they need to make to get information from you to figure out where the project's at, where the financials are at. There's a lot of user experience things, even with like automated emails, where you're not relying on the automated emails to communicate, but you're providing like some good information to the client, and having them that they have like on-demand access is one of the great things about technology. And that's just the user interfacing or the client interfacing experience. There's also the experience of just working with a company that is organized, that has schedules in place, that has some project management software that's tracking issues, has proper checklists for quality controls and different things like that in place. The experience is just above and beyond if you're just trying to like piece this together. If you got a spreadsheet here, a spreadsheet there, having good technology in place definitely makes a big difference. Differentiate from competitors. So the software that you use matters as far as it'll set you above any competitors that are not utilizing technology properly. And even just the technology you choose will differentiate you as well. I have a good eye for this, so I can usually tell like fairly easily if I just see an estimate from a contractor, or even like other people in my space, as far as like consultants and coaches, like I can usually kind of tell which technologies they're using, and they all provide a different kind of flavor, if you will, or experience to the client. Build a business that's scalable and sellable. So this is one of the biggest bonuses, I guess, for technology. Not only will it help you organize everything and get everything running smoothly, but it helps you to keep things running smoothly as you grow. A big problem that I ran into when I grew my business, we tripled our revenue in 1 year, which was fantastic until it wasn't, and things started to fall apart. Your reputation starts to dive, and I didn't have the systems or the technology in place to really facilitate that growth. And that I see that happening with a lot of contractors, where we're always pushing for bigger jobs, and you get a lot of work that comes in. Now you hire more guys, you got all this stuff going on, and it's like the revenue might double, but your workload doubles and your headaches double, and things start to fall apart. You're not as involved on site. And technology is a way that can mitigate that, so that you are able to not hit that ceiling, but be able to continue to grow in a steady, sustainable way, and know that your systems will keep up with your growth over time. All right. So how do we choose the right technology? I'm talking about technology, but how do we figure out what's actually going to work and what's not? So the process that I go through to kind of future proof and make sure you're picking the right stuff is, you want to identify your priorities and bottlenecks. So where is a big bottleneck in your company right now? What's like the one place that if you fix that, everything else will become easier? Common ones are estimating. I think a lot of contractors don't enjoy estimating, weekends, evenings, whatever, putting quotes together and then having clients, want revisions, or aren't, want to change the price or whatever. So that's often a bottleneck area. The the thing with estimating as well is like that's kind of where you make your money. So even though, yeah, you got to produce the project and that's when you collect the money, but if the estimating is not on point, if it's not accurate, if it's taking too long to get estimates out, that is often one of the reasons why you might have low profitability, or you might get to an end of project and be scratching your head wondering where all the money is because it's not in your bank account, even though you had, great margins and you thought you were going to make a bunch of money on a project. You don't really know kind of where it went. So having knowing those priorities of like, where's the pain point in your business, and does the technology that I'm getting solve for that bottleneck? And then you really want to prioritize as well. There, I'm talking a lot about project management software, but it could be with any other type of technology you're looking to incorporate into your business. They will all do a number of different things. There's always like a list of features, but which are the most important to you? Pick out maybe three of the top ones. Like, I need this to do this, this, and this, and that is the most important thing that I need out of this technology. And that'll help you differentiate between the different options of like, okay, this one does those three things really well, or in a way that I like them to get done. And now you know that that might be a good pick for you. User-friendly, proven, construction specific. Even if you're fairly good at tech and you can pick up software technology fairly quickly, it doesn't mean that your team can necessarily pick it up quickly. So that's when you're looking at incorporating some new technology or purchasing new technology, software, whatever it may be, always keep in mind that it's not just for you, it's also for your entire team. So how is this going to be perceived by them? How are they going to use it? Is it going to work with your team? Definitely, if you have some key people like project managers or some sort of senior management, or even your site guys or foremen on site, if you're doing like a trial or a test or whatever of the software or technology, ask them to use it and give you feedback, because it's really important to get that teamwork going. And it'll bring up things just with more eyeballs on whatever you're doing. You'll get feedback and make a better choice at the end of the day. I always suggest starting on a monthly plan when you're starting with something new. If it's a subscription type model, monthly plan enables you to get started and really see if it's going to work for you long term. And and then after maybe 2, 3 months, if it's a fit and it's working well for you, then upgrade to the yearly and get the discount that a lot of them have. Get your team on board, I already mentioned, and go all in. Once you make a choice to invest in technology, you really need to go all in and plan for it and realize that there's going to be some disruptions in your business. We've just done this with our company as well. We were rolling out some new stuff, and we essentially, like, I approach it like I approach a construction project. I lay out all the different items that we're going to need to get in place. What are the things we're going to need to think about? What are possible risks that could come up, and put a timeline on it. And I suggest that you plan this out with getting, whatever kind of new technology you have. It doesn't have to be super in depth, but at least have like a basic plan of like, so it's thought out and you know that it's going to take 5, 10 hours a week or whatever it may be for a month or two before you can kind of get things in place. So making sense so far? Everybody's on board with this? All right, so success from the field. Not sure how we're doing for time here. Looks like we're all right. So success from the field, like I mentioned earlier, I had a client. We got them set up with some great software, and we were they were probably about a month or two into it, and at the end of the day, they made a really solid effort, but it just did not work for them. So we had to roll back to their original system, which was more spreadsheet based, and we ended up optimizing that and then bringing in some more specific software for little things that were going. So we have project management software. The client had been estimating and kind of built out his own sort of thing over the years, and he made a solid effort to utilize project management software. It was he was getting it, but it wasn't the same as what he's been doing. And because he was so integral to the business, because he was the only one estimating, that we had to revert back to the spreadsheets. And then the kind of the learning point was that we needed to rely more on his team. Like he has an admin person, project manager, he's got some other people on his team. So we said, continue to use the system that you're used to using, and then we just utilized the rest of his team to help kind of fill the gaps or migrate the information and the way that he was doing things over to some other software and different things that we picked up. So there are options, and I think teamwork around technology is really important and something that's not discussed a lot, but is super important, is like the teamwork, the implementation with the field crew, and things like that. The other thing that I'll mention about success from the field is the perfect system in your eyes is definitely not the perfect system in the field's eyes. And I went through this a number of times in my business. When I was doing contracting, I built out this nice sheet and we're going to do job costing. I was going to get my guy to fill out. This was like 20 years ago before we had all the fancy systems that we have now. And so I was going to get them to fill out a paper so I knew what tasks they're doing, how much hours, so I could, check my estimate to see if we're accurate and all this kind of stuff. I left that with my foreman. I explained it. I thought, this is going to be a game changer. Come back a few days later, and there's like coffee stains on the paper, and none of it, like half of it's filled out. I was like, okay, I need to like scale back here. So sometimes some baby steps are important, and always explaining why, and also expecting that when you implement new technology, it is not going to be like a perfect fit right off the bat. It does happen sometimes that, the stars align or whatever, but typically speaking, there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be some uncomfortable things. There's going to be some team members that just get it, others that you've got to remind, daily or weekly to get in receipts or hours or use the schedule or whatever, right? So it's really having a little bit of patience with your team, but explaining to them why you're doing this, how it's going to benefit them at the end of the day with a stronger company or whatever, however it might benefit them, and just staying consistent with it and realizing that because it's frustrating or difficult at first, it doesn't mean that it's going to continue like that. So you just kind of got to push through those barriers. I always like this question. What will inaction cost you? So we often kind of think about the investment in something, what we're going to get out of it, but you're always making choices, whether that's to move forward with something or not move forward with something. And is technology going to become more relevant, more powerful, easier to use in the future? I would say yes. That's the trend. So the longer you wait, the longer you have inaction about utilizing some technology. It doesn't mean you have to jump on the bandwagon with every new thing that comes out. And I would suggest not always, maybe test out new stuff, but often things need to kind of be used for a while before they've ironed out the kinks. But realizing that inaction is generally going to get you the same results as what you've got and may just leave you kind of farther behind at the end of the day. All right. So time for action. Action equals results. The information is great and learning is necessary to a successful business. But at the end of the day, what actions are you taking and what are you doing? I've created a systems and tech appraisal guide. So this is a spreadsheet. Pull it up here. I think Jennifer will put this in the chat for you guys. You can download this, and it's a self-assessment. It's got the different functions of your business, marketing, estimating, project management, human resources, all these different things you go through, and it lists a bunch of different key kind of systems or technology in those different areas of your business, and you give yourself a rating. The idea is that you'll rate yourself wherever you may be, and then where you want to prioritize. So you could, maybe marketing, if you're struggling with like lead gen or what have you, then this will be, maybe a priority will be marketing or sales. If estimating is a pain point for you, maybe that's priority. But you don't want to be working on a whole bunch of different systems at one time or technology. Stay, focused, prioritize where's you're going to get the best bang for your buck, where do you have the biggest headaches, and focus there. And then over time, let's say you don't really have anything as far as branding or your ideal client avatar, you do some work on it, now you're at average, you can kind of keep a scorecard of like where you started and where you're going and where you've made progress. So that's how you utilize this. Right now you'll have view access. So in order to utilize this, you can either do make a copy, which will copy the Google Doc, and then you can have like a editable copy for yourself, or you can download it as like an Excel file spreadsheet. The um, the formatting may change if you download as an Excel sheet, but the functionality will all be there. And so you can download it to your computer or create a copy of the Google Doc. So yeah, that's technology implementation. Hope that was as helpful for you guys. And I know we're going to pass it over here to Pete in just a minute. If there's any questions, we could field those as well. It's up to you, Jennifer, I guess, how
Amazing,
you'd like to
Derek. No,
proceed.
that was great.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't see any questions at the moment, so we'll
Yeah.
just pass it over to Pete. That was really great
Yeah.
content.
Mhm.
Really good insights for somebody who has been in the field, and that disconnect in between, the project manager and the people who are in the field. So a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things you have to be cognizant of, and then how technology can be such a great tool if used right. So thank you again, Pete. Or thank you again, Derek, and we'll pass it over to
Yeah.
Pete. Pete, over to you.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much, Derek. Yeah, great presentation. I love the insights, especially as it relates to tech needs and areas of improvement, after the estimated schedule, right? With Angie, for those of you who are familiar, we're one of the largest, if not the largest, home service networks in the United States. And a lot of our technological advice and what our pros see success with is really at the beginning, right? With leads coming in that you want to create opportunity out of to get that schedule. So great insights there, Derek. Love the technology, and I like the appraisal piece as well to better understand what your needs are. And I think the same could kind of apply to a lot of what I'm going to speak about, which again is technology needs and efficiency at the beginning when you first are introduced to a potential customer. So we're going to talk about what pros use in our network that has seen the most success as it relates to using technology to be efficient within your business. So we can kind of start with a big truth. Today's homeowner expects, speed, convenience, trust. And the good news is technology helps you deliver all three. A lot of contractors I talk to don't lose jobs because they're not qualified. They lose because somebody else got to it first. Early bird gets the worm, and that couldn't be more true now in a digital age where folks are looking for contractors to work with, especially in construction. They're often going to talk to a couple of them. So it's always good to have tools that can help you get that first impression before your competition, connect faster, connect more consistently, and ultimately win more work. So for those who may be unfamiliar, Angie has been connecting homeowners with pros for nearly 30 years. We're technically a business that's older than Google, started as Angie's List, a magazine subscription, but 30 years later, like I said, the largest network of home service companies in the United States. We see over 15 million requests, service requests across 50 different categories, from kitchen remodels to HVAC to cleaning service, lawn maintenance, what have you. What makes us unique is that every homeowner you talk to has already given the one-to-one consent to connect. And what that means is we've recently changed the process by which we are delivering leads. Now, with any lead that you get from Angie, you got that lead because the homeowner saw you. They saw your reviews, they saw your profile, and there's going to be some technology to help maintain that consistency to win more jobs. With 20 million plus reviews that are verified on our platform, it helps homeowners feel confident in choosing the right contractor. So as a part and kind of the beginning of technology that is necessary, a CRM, data organization. In large part, I think of it as kind of the brain of your business. One of the biggest keys to success in organizing your data, that's where the CRM comes from. You want to be able to store, maintain, and understand your data at a level that allows you to act on it, and more importantly, understand the revenue or success rate that you're seeing with any lead source, Angie or any others. You want to understand, again, the contact rates, schedule rates, issue rates, demo rates, close rates, and more importantly, ROI. And it is extremely difficult to truly understand that information if the data isn't dispositioned properly or isn't maintained at a regular level. And so when you're wanting to understand, for example, this lead source, I seem to get in touch with homeowners a lot, but I don't seem to schedule them, or vice versa. This lead source, every homeowner I do speak to, I end up scheduling. Those are important data figures to understand where you're seeing most success. So all technology kind of relies on this baseline of having true and accurate data within a CRM. Secondly, pros that see the most success with Angie specifically, and I can imagine across other lead generation platforms, are folks that have a consistent level of maintenance as it relates to their reputation. Obviously, the power of online reviews in this digital world, your online reputation is often your first impression for any homeowner that is introduced to your company. Homeowners check reviews, even if they were referred by a friend, they're going to still take a look at your online reputation. Internally with Angie, it is very easy. We do have an internal portal that helps companies, especially those who are singly owned companies where the owner wears all hats of the company. And that's great for new businesses getting started. But at a certain point, Angie's portal is not diverse enough to be able to support a growing business. So with reputation management, especially if you're a growing business, your entire reputation isn't necessarily always going to be on Angie. You may have a Google profile. You probably have a Facebook, even a website where you house internal reviews. There are many organizations, companies that provide reputation management software. We partner with some where you can see all of your online reputation in one place without having to spread yourself thin and go to the Google portal, go to the Angie portal, go to your Facebook account. It's very important to be consistent with collecting reviews and organizing them all. And that also comes with interaction, right? Not everybody gets 5-star reviews 100% of the time. Every so often, you may have a review that is less than 5 stars. What's most important there is your ability to respond back. Studies have shown that bad reviews with a response back from the owner are often looked at with a grain of salt and not necessarily taken as truth from a star perspective, because they see that the company is actively engaging and correcting any pitfalls that they may have delivered in their service. But actively being able to communicate with those reviews is important, and many review management software companies, are providing that sort of catch-all type of service. Speed to lead. That's a fairly important aspect of what makes Angie's most successful pros as successful as they are. Data shows on our end that if you make a call to a lead that has come into your system within 15 minutes, you're twice as likely to connect to the homeowner. You're 58% more likely to actually win that job. And the pro, based on our data, that gets to that homeowner first, more likely is going to win that job. And Angie also has tools with, automated text, email, call, even through our chat platform. But again, at a certain point, as you're a growing company, you may need other solutions to provide that consistency, especially as it relates to not just getting in touch with the homeowner initially. We know that sometimes with construction jobs, the sales cycle can be long. It could be past 30 days. You may get a call back from a homeowner a year after you've set an appointment with them and given them a quote. And so technology that maybe Angie doesn't have, but that is out there that other platforms will have, is the ability to nurture those leads, provide drip campaigns on a schedule, get in touch with a homeowner that only scheduled but did not follow through with a contract, drop them a message via text or email on a quarterly basis to maintain your brand's top of mind. And again, a lot of that stuff, when done manually, can be exhausting, but there are tools out there, that are of many variety that allow you to automate that process. And then again, communication. That's the type and the consistency of communication is very important. A lot of pros that don't do well with Angie sometimes come in and say, hey, I called this lead a couple times this week. They never called me back. And a lot of our account managers will ask them, well, did you, and what other means did you try to get in touch with that homeowner? Did you text them? Did you send them an email? These other means of communication are becoming ever more important, frankly, because folks don't answer the phone organically from a non-recognized number to the degree that they did, in years past. It's extremely important to use other methods of communication because it is very likely that that's how the homeowner, your potential customer, is expecting and or would prefer, to communicate with you. And I think what's important too to recognize is that text message and emails, as it relates to speed to lead, those can be done first. Our most successful pros typically have a text message and an email sent out already to the homeowner that they got a lead for before the phone even rings, which is, crucial, especially if the odds of them not answering that phone call are likely. At least you can leave a voicemail, and even that voicemail may reference a text message. So we're seeing, a lot of success from pros that are, that are quick to get in touch with that lead. So all in all, kind of the three main points, starting at the top, organizing your data, making sure that your data is clean, accurate, and actionable, so that way you can build your business off of that, building your trust online. A good reputation creates great rewards, and then respond to leads fast, consistently, and through as many channels that make sense to your homeowners. The standard is always text, email, and phone call, but if you have a partner or a company that you work with that even does mail, dropping a flyer in the mail still is a valid way to get in touch with a homeowner. Really, there's really no, I think in this day and age, there's really no method of communicating with a homeowner that isn't worth exploring to get an opportunity in your door.
Amazing, Pete. Thank you so much. And I want to tie the two together. And Derek, I would love to hear from you as a former contractor, what you found most effective in ways that you communicated with your leads.
Yeah, I think Pete hit the nail on the head there with you really want to be on, you mentioned a lot of different communication channels as far as like if a lead comes in, you want to make sure that you're getting them on, an email list, they're getting some nurture campaigns, you're calling them, texting them, leaving voicemails, doing everything you can to connect with them on their preferred method of communication. And there has been this shift years past. You call someone, they pick up the phone, you have a conversation with them. Nowadays, myself included, if someone calls me that I don't know the number, I'm very unlikely to pick up because there's just a lot of spam calls out there or whatever. I prefer to control my time and when I pick up the phone. So if someone texts me though and is like, hey, this is so and so, I can call them right back, right? So there's just figuring out what works there. And I think just as much as far as from like a marketing perspective, um, you want to be on you want to be present on a lot of different areas, different social channels. Um, and because again, just as people have preferred methods of communication, they'll have preferred methods um, of where they kind of hang out, if you will, whether that's, more of a web search, if that's social media, whether that's email. So yeah, just really
Yeah.
exploring a lot of options and then focusing on the ones that work best for you.
Yeah, and not only you, but I think it's more of like a custom approach, depending on how big the job is and how much you want to nurture the relationship with an individual consumer. They're going to have their preferences. So Pete, what kind of advice do you have in terms of like privacy and making sure that, someone is careful about how they're reaching out or cold calling or reaching out to new leads?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. Obviously within, legal guidelines, I can speak for the United States, but in other countries this is probably similar. Obviously, if a homeowner says, do not call me anymore, that's kind of the end of the road. However, I say that to say this, because of this digital landscape, and to Derek's point about the aggressive nature that many companies are using to get your business, a lot of contractors feel as though they are potentially bothering potential customers by calling them too frequently. And obviously there is a point in which, your level or your consistency of reaching out, could be too much, but
Yeah.
that level is a lot farther away than what you're actually doing. Twice a day, when you get a lead, 3 times a day on the first day, twice a day for the next 2 days, and then once a day for 10 days is not too much. That is an appropriate amount to reach out to a homeowner to get a response. And a lot of times, contractors that I work with specifically, they prefer to receive a no from a homeowner than nothing at all. And here's why. If you receive a no from the homeowner, even through any means, you can now mark that in your system as this customer says no, which goes back to the data. That is good data to understand if you wanted to maybe revisit a campaign that you did 6 months prior. You now have the information on, these homeowners never got back to us. There's a likelihood that they might still be interested in service. This customer said no, so maybe we should leave them out of that campaign. So again, you may feel that you're being aggressive when reaching out to homeowners through all these methods and through this consistency, but that's the grind. That's what successful pros are doing to grow their business and capture market share.
Yeah, and like you said, if you keep that person on your list, you're wasting time and money, yours and theirs. So it is probably preferable to get a direct response. And maybe that's part of what we consider now is that making sure that you have an effective call to action when you're reaching out to your leads so that you can get a decisive response from them that is a yes or no or maybe even a maybe, keep me in the communications, and therefore you aren't wasting your time or theirs. Well, again, fabulous content, you guys. I think there's so many opportunities for people to be adopting technology, making it work for them, making their businesses more efficient and effective, and really love that we took a number of different angles to look at it today. Thanks again for the wonderful content. And thanks to everybody for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Thanks for everyone for partaking and participating. See ya.